Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. I'm going to let you into a little secret. I've had an issue with my broadband today and had to deal with a chatbot to clear security, a human agent, only to be told that it would take 48 hours to fix my connection and get me back online. And it's got me thinking, a few years ago, a 48-hour SLA would have been completely fine. But in an age where we manage our home heating, entertainment, and even lighting via an internet connection that we all take for granted now, I can't help but thinking we need something a little better, because we're connecting more and more devices, home appliances, smart TVs, all to that internet connection. But if you are without internet for a couple of days or hours, your whole house can suddenly go offline. But thankfully, this story has a happy ending, as it was all fixed the same day. So I'm going to refrain from complaining too much, but it did get me thinking how much I take my broadband connection for granted. Obviously, I work from home all the time, and these podcasts that enable me to talk with people all over the world also rely on that connection. But I digress. We have a show to do. And today we have Dr. Dan Rosen of a company called d1g1t on the podcast, who's going to be joining us and has tremendous insights to share that I believe is going to be incredibly interesting to each and every one of you. Not only from a fintech perspective, but also from the perspectives of financial advisors and individual investors out there. In a nutshell, d1g1t is an enterprise-level wealth management platform engineered to meet the needs of all firms providing investment advice. Not to mention managing investment portfolios or selling wealth management products to individual investors or families. And Dan was also the co-founder and CEO of R2 Financial Technologies, which was acquired by S&P Capital IQ back in 2012. So I invited Dan on the podcast today to talk about how and why the wealth management industry has been underserved by modern technology, arguably until now. So come with me all the way to Toronto, where Dan is waiting to talk about the industry and the tech scene in Canada and so much more. So let's get Dan onto the show now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Neil, and I'm very happy to be in the show. My name is Dan Rosen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of d1g1t. So d1g1t is an enterprise wealth management platform. Our claim of fame is that we're powered by really good institutional-grade analytics and risk management tools that really were only available to the top investment banks and hedge funds. Our goal and our focus is to enable advisory firms to, we talk about elevating the quality of the advice they provide, like really focus on that interaction with their clients and how they can show that they're bringing value to clients. Just in terms of background, I've been building risk and portfolio management systems for about 25 years. My joke is that I'm a recovering academic, although I still teach at the University of Toronto, so I clearly haven't done very well at recovering from it. But this is really the third startup I've been on, and the second one I started from scratch.
And I'm so glad you mentioned your history there, because I'm quite excited to talk about d1g1t in just a few moments. But I think it's so important that we point out you were the co-founder and CEO of R2 Financial Technologies and have a fantastic career in the tech industry. So my first question has got to be, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned throughout your tech journey?
Okay, so the biggest lesson. So you went right away to the hardest question. Good. I really stumbled into becoming an entrepreneur and going into tech. I truly never thought I was going to do what I was doing. I'm very happy that I'm doing it. But as I said, I always thought I was going to be an academic. But I joined very early on in my career a company called Algorithmics, even before I started R Square, and we became the largest enterprise software risk management company in the world at the time. We got a large number of the top banks in the world, and we did really, really well. But really, I ended up falling in love with the concept of building technology from scratch and the whole process of innovation and how you turn it into product, and how you turn it into actual clients and into an actual service that helps people or institutions doing their business a lot better. And my focus has always been in building analytics for financial services. So that's kind of the background of that. So as I said, this is the third time around, and biggest lessons. Okay, so let me start. I think the number one lesson is it's everything about a team, and you can't do anything on your own. And I know so many founders that come with a great idea, but they're not able to build a good team. And I've been very, very fortunate that I have two great co-founders that I've been working for over 20 years with, and we've been really focusing all along to build in the right people and the right team. And maybe as I talk a little bit about our product, I really believe in teams and people, and not just on the focus on the product. I think that for me is probably number one. If I can think of a few more lessons, two would be probably a big part of the success comes with luck and timing. And I'd like to tell you that I think we've been successful because we're amazing, and it's very easy for us who build these companies from scratch to really believe it. But I think a big part of being successful is having the right timing and just having that little bit of luck. And now, it's not only about being lucky. I think that once you do that, you have to jump at it. You really have to go and execute and make it happen. And you have to not let go, because that lucky opportunity at the right time doesn't come in all the time. And I think that's key. And I can definitely think about that as an important one. The third one is probably, I'd like to call it making sure you're all the time having reality checks. And I know I have so many friends who've had great ideas and they go about building companies, etc., but they never sort out the business model. They never sort out who's going to buy, and someone has to pay for it, and there has to be a market, and all those boring things that it looks less exciting from a company perspective. They're actually really important. Like, in the end, whatever you do, someone has to be willing to pay money for it, and you have to provide something that people need. And you have to be asking yourself all the time, is that happening? Is that true? And when that doesn't happen, I think you really have to revise it and be brutal with your own ideas. Which brings me back probably to the last one, because and I can come up with another 10, but the other one is it's never a straight line. The way there, it's never easy. It's never what you thought it would start. You have to have resiliency, and I know everyone talks about it, but I truly believe that that's one of the key things. There will be times always when things are not going to go your way. You can't close the deals, like things are not happening. You need to keep grinding and work and make it work. I think that's absolutely a must. And I don't know anyone who's been successful with startups without having that resiliency in there. I'll stop here. I can come up with a bunch of them, but that probably is a good start.
No, fantastic advice. It really is. And you have had a tremendous career in technology, but we've also got a fantastic future to discuss as well. And here in 2019, my understanding is that Digit is a new digital wealth management platform that's powered by analytics and offers advanced transparent portfolio management services to advisors and their individual investors. But can I ask that you set the scene and tell me a little bit more about exactly what kind of problems Digit solves and essentially what makes you unique from all those other solutions out there?
Here is a little bit of how we got here, and I think that will get you to why we think we're unique. So as I said, I've been building systems first for the top banks and particularly investment banks in the world, and then with R-Square we build a multi-asset class platform for essentially institutional investors and hedge funds. And as we were going around, we really found that there was a huge opportunity going to the wealth management industry, and that was one of the key things. So as we started, I mean, we really found that there was an industry that was going through a big revolution in the end. Like every firm we talked to was under pressure from, I call it the changing client, with bigger digital expectations, a new demographic going around that, regulators demanding higher transparency and showing fiduciary duties. And then most importantly, the concept of fee compression, which is, I mean, really their fees were under increased pressure to go down, that come from competition, from robos, and particularly for very, very cheap and virtually free products that are being there. And one of the things, as we were looking at that and coming from the institutional side, we really saw that these advisors were completely underserved by the technology that they had, and lagging definitely behind their financial institution peers like investment banks or institutional investors or some of the hedge funds in the world. So that's one of the key things. And all of this is happening. And then you have some of the big houses investing and pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars to build those advisory platforms. I mean, when I remember in 2018, when we did our a press release for one of our rounds of money, like Morgan Stanley had a big press release that they were releasing their advisory platform, and they were saying, like, they interviewed one of the top executives, and when they asked him how much they spent, he just said like something like this, like, think of a big number with lots of commas. And it just stuck to my head that was then a really important problem if some of these big firms were doing, and really that's how we set up and how we went into this problem. So really a big part of what we're trying to do and what we keep on trying to do is really empower these advisory firms to think of how they extract the high value that human services, that people will provide to their clients, and will set them apart as this wealth management world becomes more digital. I think people will always be a very, very important component, and I see our job as empowering those firms to get their advisors to do a much better work, a much better job with their clients. One of our investors, who's a very well-known investment fund management here in Toronto, he actually, as I was walking through the platform, said, "Oh, I get it. Your job is to make those advisors look like rock stars with their clients and really show that they're bringing all this value and that their fees are worth it." And it just stuck into my head that was a really, really important part. So as I think of all of this, what makes us unique is really how we got to this part of the story, right? So the fact that we're bringing this depth of analytics and a really, really strong financial engineering to the wealth management space, but it's not just good analytics. It's just that they're embedded in the business processes and this advisory workflow and in this engagement between the advisor and their client. I think that's one big component. Another big component is we provide an enterprise solution, which means really everyone within the firm uses us today, from the CEO to the CIO to people in compliance. And it allows firms to look at their entire business, their entire client base, and all their portfolios in one place. And I think that makes us very unique. Again, with a clear focus on the tasks that advisors do together. And the third one is really our team. I think our team makes us massively unique. It's just our deep financial expertise, the fact that we've built and integrated systems with the most complex financial institutions. But also that, and when I talk about the team, I not only consider the people who work at Digit, but also like our investors and board are really, really experienced members of the wealth management community. And we managed to build a platform with a group of early advisor clients who really work with us for anywhere between 12 and 18 months, which help us build this platform for them directly. And I think that's really, really key as we think of what makes us unique.
And if we look across that digital landscape, it looks like technology has transformed just about every industry that I can think of. But why is it you think that wealth management and the wealth management industry, should I say, have been underserved by modern technology?
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I mean, I was just at an AI conference in Switzerland, a very, very good academic conference, and with some of the top machine learning people in the world. And one of the things that, when you think of applying technology and AI to wealth management, well, the first thing that comes to mind is robo-advisors, and we're going to substitute people. And I think that all of these big data analytics and AI and machine learning are changing dramatically the way financial services work and the work actually we think about money and the way we interact with money. But I truly don't think that they're going to change the need for human advisors, for the human touch. I think investment decisions are some of the biggest decisions we make in our lives, like things such as, I mean, do I buy a house or not? Do I have enough money to retire? And even who you marry, and can end up being a big financial decisions. And therefore they become very emotional. And you need a coach, you need advisors to do that. So I think that all of this, and this is part of what makes us, I think, unique. Really, I feel that all of these advances are really going to make advisors better, that they will empower them with not data and information, but with knowledge that I don't think they had before, and that will help them look at their clients better. And when I see what these firms have or how their technology has evolved through time, I mean, you raise a good point, and that I mentioned before. I think that the analytics and a lot of this technology has just lagged behind definitely what investment banks or hedge funds have used. They used outdated and systems that are costly to maintain. They're with lots of manual processes. They very hard to aggregate data or share data. My joke on when they ask us what type of systems do we substitute when we go in, I always say that we really substitute Dimitri with Excel. And most of the companies we go, there's a really good quant guy, which in North America and in Canada, it might be a guy with a Russian background, very, very strong mathematically, that can program in Excel and can put together a lot of these reports and a lot of these things when a client comes. But it's with a lot of manual thing. And that, at the end, results on advisors having limited knowledge or limited ability to understand how their client portfolios work, or limited engagement tools. If a client comes in, it takes them a day or two to put together reports, and they need a set of interactive tools and analytics that they can use to really be able to answer all the questions from their clients and give them everything. So when we think about that, we're thinking of how do we empower these advisors to have this knowledge about, and yes, we think about the markets and their portfolios, but I think much more broadly. I'm thinking all the time about, it's not only about the people's portfolios, but it's about their needs, their wishes, their fears, their dreams, right? So it's empowering with that knowledge that it's both of their portfolios, but of their clients in one place.
So another question I've got to ask is, what is the story behind Digit, and what inspired you to change this narrative and create a new solution to that particular problem?
There's a couple of good stories. I'd like to tell you that I and with my partners, we had this great foresight on look, the industry needs all these things, but there's two stories that are probably a little bit more accurate for sure. So one is, as we were in our square, several of our institutional clients and hedge funds were telling us, look, this thing that you built for us, you should actually go and look at that wealth management space, because this would be a killer, and they don't have any of this technology. You just need to make it easier to use. You need to bring in an advisory workflow, but it would be a phenomenal thing, and they're in desperate need for it. So that was part of the of the story, definitely. And this is how we started looking at it, and we definitely found that. And I mentioned some of the points earlier in the previous question. The second one, and this I got reminded. I went to see a client prospect today, which is a very novel multifamily office here in Toronto that's recently launched, and they do some very good things. And the guy who runs their operation, a guy that I know very well. And when I was starting Digit about 3 years ago, I was telling him, look, I'm going to start this thing. And he actually said, but what makes you think that you can actually do any of these things, right? And I said, well, and he reminded me what I told him, which is, look, I go and look at my advisor and what they do, and I can't get what I want. So I'm going to build the platform that I want my advisor to use. And he reminded me that today as I was showing him. He said, remember? And when he saw the platform, he's like, oh my God, you actually did deliver that. Like, that's exactly what you said you were going to do 3 years ago. And I think that's it's a bit of my own frustration. And I can tell you the same with my partners on the fact that we don't get from our advisors also what we think is really, really important. And that's part of the story. And as we started looking at the market, we found this really, really quickly. And as we just started engaging, we very quickly got 4 early adopter clients that were willing to sign with us before we even had a full product. And we got investors, including some of those clients who were willing to put in money to help us fund and build this thing. And at that point, we figure out clearly there must be a need. And I go back to that reality check. When someone wants to pay you money to build something that you don't yet have, and they're willing to even invest in you, at first I have massive respect on them, and I'm eternally grateful, and I've never figured out how that works when people put that much faith in me and my team to do that. But it was a great sign that there was a big need, and it's something we've been validating over the last 3 years.
And you really have done just that, because Digit was also named one of Canada's companies to watch in the 2019 Deloitte Technology Fast 50 list. So, you must be immensely proud that you've gone out to tackle that problem, but then getting this kind of recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we were ecstatic about it. I think it's a great testament to the team we've put together, and the fact that this team has produced in a short time a phenomenal solution with bringing client on board and just being around all these great companies that are part of this award list is just phenomenal. But yeah, it's part of the things that show this level of recognition, right? So we're now fast forward a little bit over 3 years, and we do have a full team. We're up and running with our clients. We just signed our 10th client a couple of weeks ago, which is our first US client. We're going to have close to 50 billion in AUM soon in the platform, with hundreds of users and thousands of households being served in there. So it's been an amazing journey, I have to say. And we're very, very excited about it.
Cool. Now, I also spoke with Mars CEO Young Woo earlier this year about how the Mars Discovery District is now the largest innovation hub in North America and supports over 1,300 plus startups. So can I ask you to tell me a little bit more about the vibrant tech startup scene in Canada, just for our international listeners, and the kind of experience that you've had in the area?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's being in Toronto. It's a great place from a technology perspective. We're definitely one of the hottest bets for startup, and particularly for things related to artificial intelligence and machine learning and analytics. I think it was a well-kept secret for a very long time, because, as I said, this is the third startup I'm in Canada, and all of them have. The last two were very successful, and I know quite a few of these. So, but now the secret is full blown out, and there's a really, really vibrant tech community. I think one of the key things is and I can tell you, for example, speaking of Ontario and all the Ontario area, but I think that's a little bit true also as you go to areas in Montreal and even as you go out west. But just Ontario, the concentration of very strong technology universities is very, it's unbelievable, and it's one of those things that it might not be well known internationally, right? So, I mean, maybe outside of the Boston, Cambridge area, probably the area around Toronto and Ontario has one of the highest concentrations of some of the top programs. University of Toronto was just confirmed for its second year in a row to be in the top 20 universities all around the world. University of Waterloo has one of the best computer science program, and this is where companies like Google and Microsoft do the most recruiting in the entire world. So it's been absolutely great, and it's vibrant. And now also the father of one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, in particular for deep learning, is professor at the University of Toronto, and so now it's also become a big hotbed for artificial intelligence companies and research, and now we have the Vector Institute. So it's been a phenomenal ride around that. Like, for example, we were incubated, Digit, and this is the second company I do that at the Fields Institute, and the Fields Institute is one of the top math institutes around the world, and it has a small incubation program, and we incubated R-Square there first, and we actually did Digit there as well. But we've kept it as a secret for a while. I think the secret is out.
So I'm curious, when it comes to Digit, are there any client stories or partnerships that you could possibly share that will just help listeners visualize and understand the difference that you're really making out there with this?
So we're very early on in the process, right? So that's we're a very early company, and as I mentioned before, we were very fortunate to be able to partner very early on. So we had 4 early adopter clients that we partner with. One of them, Purpose Advisory Solution, is an advisory solution arm of Purpose Financial, which is a very well-known fund and financial service company here in Canada. And we partnered with them very, very early on to really provide the analytics and the advisory platform that's at the core of their business. So just seeing how that new business, which was completely started from scratch, was launching and being part of it for us was a great experience, and just seeing it grown has been great. One of our other early advisors, just as another example, very early on, is Gluskin Sheff, and Gluskin Sheff is one of the, if not the top, high net worth, ultra high net worth firms here in Canada. Very, very well known, great reputation and great service. And they had a vision very early on that they were looking for a technology platform, how they wanted to revolutionize the way they service clients on this. So we've had a very, very close partnership with them, which both has made our product phenomenal. But I think we've also work with them to enable their advisors with great tools. And as one of them of their top portfolio managers told us one day, he thinks of the fact that we provide them knowledge they just never had before. We're not able to really engage with their clients on a live basis with. So the fact that we're seeing how that role of the advisor as a much better coach with good technology, and how that's changing and will change even further the way services are provided and the way we will all perceive the value of advice. I mean, it makes it very, very exciting.
So we've talked about how you got where you are today, and also the amazing success that you're having with Digit right now. But what's next for Digit, and what's your focus going to be over the next 18 months and beyond?
Oh, so that's a loaded question. So this is look, it's as I said, it's been a great ride. We're now at the point where we've proven that we have a product. We signed our 10th client. We're going to sign our 11th client very soon. As I said, we'll probably get to 50 billion in AUM in the platform in the very, very near future, even with our existing clients. We have our first US client. So really, it's all about now growing up and scaling. I mean, the team, we have a little bit over 40 people now. Most of our team is in R&D because we wanted to build the product and the team that built the content first. And we're now starting to build everything around that, our sales operations, our client services and operations, our marketing. So really for us, it's now about scaling. How do we go now and really tackle a much, much bigger US market and also international market? I was in Switzerland and in the UK just the last 2 weeks, and I think there's also a tremendous opportunity there to put our mark. And it's now how we grow from 10 clients, which is really one after the other, to make it into a scalable machine, right? Good to go to 50 and then to 100 and then to 500 clients. It's a big, big market with what we perceive to be a big need. And definitely that's something we keep on hearing. So it's for us growing up, which is a difficult thing because a lot of the skills that have made us great at this stage, and the fact that we're really creative and we can move fast and we can change direction fast and we can react well, we need now to make things, create the right processes and make things reproducible, and being able to enable both the client services and a sales team that can go and articulate that value proposition without any of the partners going around doing that. So it's a very exciting stage. We've done it a couple of times. I've gone through this stage twice already, so we kind of know what to expect. We also know that it's really hard, so we don't underestimate it for 1 second. And I think we have the right support from our investors and from our board of directors and everyone around us, who hopefully will be advising us and also on our case whenever we're screwing up once in a while.
And for anyone listening that'd love to follow your progress and see how you continue to grow, can you just remind them of the best way of following you online and checking out the kind of work that you're doing, and also contact your team if they have got any further questions after listening to our conversation today?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is digit.com. It's d1g1t.com, and you can reach us through there. You can also send us email to getinTouch@digit.com. Please email me directly. Happy to always reply. Sometimes I have a little bit of a backup on email, but I do try to reply to everyone who sends me email. And my email is dan.rosen@digit.com, d1g1t.com. And we're constantly looking for feedback and good ideas. So, please feel free to reach out.
Well, I've loved hearing the insights gained from your career and everything that you've succeeded in, but also how you're tackling this problem within the wealth management industry, and also hearing not only from the fintech perspective, but also from the perspectives of financial advisors and individual investors, and being able to see this problem from multiple vantage points and how you're tackling it. So much value in today's episode. I just hope everyone listening has enjoyed it as much as I've had, but more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and taking the time to share your story today. Thanks again, Dan.
No, thank you, Neil, and I very much enjoyed our conversation, and really thanks a lot for having me.
Wow, I consider myself so fortunate to be able to chat with guys like Dan every day. And I think there's so much value in these conversations, and it's great to hear that Digit is doing so well. And they've already signed 6 clients, including 4 early adopter clients, which are some of the leading Canadian wealth management firms responsible for managing approximately 13 billion in Canadian dollars of assets that are under management for over 5,000 households. And Digit is currently speaking with large banks and in the process of expanding its footprint in the US. So definitely one to watch very carefully next year. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on why the wealth management industry has been underserved by modern technology for so long. And of course, I'd love to hear more about the tech startup scene where you live. I want to hear and equally share your story too. So hopefully the guests from Vietnam, Canada, Russia, China, Israel over the last 10 days alone has proven to you all that I'm serious about giving you all this platform to come on here and share your story and put where you live on the map too. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, and we'll continue that conversation. So let's do it all again tomorrow. But before I go, I just want to give a big thank you to each and every one of you listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.